Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Force with some more Elder Scrolls Online. In today's video, we're going to be doing something a little bit differently. This is going to be a gameplay video and we'll be taking a look at the Dragon Knight, but I've had a lot of requests from people to do something that's not standard. And what I mean by that is I've done a Nightblade who is an archer and a rogue. I've done a sorcerer as a straight up caster. I want to do something besides what you would expect. So I'm playing as the Dragon Knight. And what do you think of when you think of Dragon Knight? Well, typically people think of a tank or a melee brawler. That's sort of the idea that comes to mind when you hear that class. I'm not playing either one of those at all. I'm basically playing as a Fire Mage. I've got quite a significant amount of area of effect damage, which allows me to take out large groups of people very quickly. I also have the ability to make myself tanky with some self-buff armor, which basically turns me, while it's active, to a heavy armor user. It's essentially what it comes out to. So let me show you my setup before we jump into the gameplay. We're focusing on these two lines, the Ardent Flame and the Draconic Power line. Ardent Flame is where most of my damage is coming from, that in conjunction with the Destruction Staff abilities, but focusing on fire damage. So on the hotbar, we have got the Fiery Breath from the Ardent Flame line, and this does frontal cone damage and then applies a damage over time fire debuff. We've got the Blockade of Fire. This is from the Destruction tree, the Elemental Blockade with a Fire Staff. It puts a wave of fire on the ground that does damage every second for 3.5 seconds. It's also 10% more damage than the other Elemental walls. We've got the Force Shock from the Destruction Staff tree line, which applies 3 types of damage, the Flame, Frost, and Shock damage. If you watch my Sorcerer video, this is the same ability that I used with that class. Next, we have got an Area of Effect Root in Burning Talons. It's a 4-second immobilize that does physical damage. However, because this is coming from the Draconic Power line, even though it's physical damage, it scales with Magicka. And then it also applies, it's morphed to also apply a fire damage over time. And then lastly, Spiked Armor, a defensive ability that ups my armor and hits the soft cap even though I'm wearing light armor. What does that mean exactly? Well, right now I'm wearing entirely light armor with the exception of one piece. This is because I want to focus on the light armor skill tree, which allows me to get magic of regeneration and reduce the cost of my abilities. I've got one piece of heavy armor in these boots. I'm only wearing this because it's got the Magicka enhancement on it. So right now my armor is that of a light armor wearer. However, when I pop this ability, so notice I've got 264 armor right now. When I pop this ability, we open this back up, I hit the soft cap. It's crazy. It's as if I'm wearing heavy armor right now. If you're wondering about the soft caps too, it's this overcharge stat and it scales with your level. It basically makes it so that there are soft caps on these stats. Every additional point you put into it is less valuable than if it was prior to the soft cap. So that means when you hit the soft cap on stats, you probably want to focus any additional stats elsewhere. So again, how that translates is I pop that ability, I'm basically a plate wearer or heavy armor wearer for the duration of that spell. You'll notice my Magicka is soft capped as well, so there's really no need for me to go much above it, so I'm going to focus on stuff like health besides that, or recovery of Magicka, or recovery of health when I invest other stats in the future. But that does scale with my level, so I want to keep up with that. So anyways, that is a basic rundown. Let's go ahead and take a look at some gameplay. I actually have a quest to go inside of this little cavern over here, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start off just again with some single target elimination. Something important to keep in mind, in most of my videos prior to that, I've been fighting, and prior to this one, I've been always fighting enemies who were pretty much at my level or one level below me. Well, in this video, I'm fighting level 14 enemies, and I'm currently sitting at level 13. So I thought this would be a nice contrast to what you guys have seen in the past, fighting a little bit more difficult enemies. In fact, I wonder how hard they're gonna be here in the cavern. And come to think of it, there might be some cause for concern because these guys might actually be at level 15, which could be a bit of a problem. We'll find out though. All right, so let's go here in the cavern and find some enemies. Hopefully we get some groups of enemies so I can show you my AoE capabilities. All right, at the start of the dungeon, typically, so this is considered a solo public dungeon, meaning that it's not terribly difficult, but the point isn't for me to show you guys like me grinding elite mobs, which I don't even think I can do right now. I really feel like the classes that have the easiest time, well, not the classes, the builds that have the easiest time soloing stuff are the builds that are ranged and the builds that can kite. Although I suppose self-healing builds would pretty much do the trick as well. All right, so here's our first group. So this is basically how I approach groups. Beforehand, I can pop my armor, let my mana regenerate for a little bit, because this thing does have a fair duration. And then I run in, drop this down, and then root them in place. So they're just sitting there taking that fire damage, and I can poke them off with my staff. If it is urgent or if they have a ton more health, I can also use another one of my abilities to whittle them down a little bit more. But as you saw there, that's pretty much about it. And again, keep in mind, these guys are one level above me. I mean, the fact that I'm able to whittle them down this quickly, honestly, to me is pretty impressive. This build period is pretty impressive. Now, when I talked about trying to do something a little bit different than the standard, I was, again, just referring to the expectations when you hear a class. And what this does, I think, and hopefully what you take away from this video, is that no matter what your class is, I saw it in the forums, someone put it a very good way. The class that you pick is more like a suggestion as to how you should play, but not at all a requirement. All right, I'm gonna focus here because I wanna make sure I can get this. A little bit bugged right now, the cursor showing up. It's just this beta build. It's not supposed to be there. You're not supposed to see the cursor when that's happening, but it's more of a suggestion. It is far from a requirement. You know, I could play this Dragon Knight as an archer if I wanted to. Oh, here we go. This actually is really good. All right, so we got a big group here. We're gonna drop this down, and then I'm gonna do my ultimate. I actually didn't show you what my ultimate is. You'll see it in effect here. It basically just makes people disappear. So what my ultimate does is when I call it down, it does fire damage. Notice the continuous theme there. It does fire damage to everyone in my vicinity. It also reduces the damage that I take and increases the damage that I do. It's so good. It is really awesome. This makes me really happy because there's groups of 3 here. This is really what I wanted to show you guys. Just large groups of enemies. 'Cause I think that's where this build does very well. It just performs very, very well in big performs very, very well in big groups. It's not so much of a single target damage dealing skill setup. Although you can swap skills in and out. For example, I currently have in my destruction line weakness to elements. If I'm ever facing a big boss enemy, this is a great thing to have. I can replace one of my other skills, maybe replace something like the Burning Talons or something if I can't immobilize the boss. Or if I can immobilize the boss, keep Burning Talons and replace my spiked armor, anticipating that I won't be getting hit, and drop a weakness to elements on them, which reduces their spell resistances by 40% for 15 seconds. You can imagine just how big of a deal that is. That can potentially be a lot of extra damage for you, depending on how resist heavy that particular enemy is at the start. Okay, so just block his basic attack. Again, typically not too worried about single targets. Now these guys, I don't really care about my armor right now. It's just a bunch of casters. I also don't really care. Well, I still want to root them in place though, because you root them in place, it stops them from running out of all your fire damage. Although you can see that lady essentially blinked forward with her ability, but luckily she was still in the fire because she blinked right on top of me. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing down here in this dungeon, but I guess it doesn't matter too much. Because this wasn't, the point of this video isn't for me to show you a quest. We do have those questline videos. I don't want to spoil things unnecessarily. I just really want to show you gameplay with this, so it's all good. Alright, so we're going to run in, we're going to burn him, we're going to lock him in place, and then just poke him off, pick him off with a couple of fire attacks. Something else also of note is my race. The race that I'm playing is the Dark Elf. And when I max out, I'm going to be able to spec into this Flame Talent. Increase spell power with fire effects by 1. There are 3 levels of that. This is a good fire Dragon Knight build. If you're thinking about making a fire-based Dragon Knight like what you see here, consider the Dark Elf, because that's a huge boon to it. There's also fire resistances with them, and then we get increased magic and stamina. I definitely need to start spending some points in that. I've been so focused on leveling my other stuff, I wasn't actually even paying attention to that line too much. But that's okay, because as you can see, we're still doing a pretty darn good job of being effective. Okay, so let me take a quick look here. There's a little bit further to go. I don't know if this dungeon has a sky shards. A lot of these little dungeons do have sky shards in them. I'm not sure if this is one of them, though. It certainly could be the case, but once again, I don't know. I'm gonna lock them in place first, and then call down the firewall, and then breathe fire on them. Just mixing it up a little bit, you know. Oh, here we go. Look at this fool. Just poke him a little bit. So you've been able to see me do pretty good work of these large groups of enemies. Something else that I'd also like to show you is how we do against tougher mobs. So you can see here, we've got a single mob. He's got someone right behind him as well, but a single boss, and he's an elite. You notice that extra stuff around his health bar up top compared to a normal guy. You see if I toggle between the two. So for this one, I think this will be a good trial for me to put on my weakness to elements. So we're gonna go ahead and switch this up here. Go into destruction staff. We're gonna replace the spike armor. I'm just gonna plan on not getting hit. We'll see how well that goes. I also have the standard of might that I can drop. So what I will be doing first is we're gonna try to burn down his friend as fast as possible. And we're gonna try to lock him in place as well. Okay, now I'm gonna drop the weakness to elements on him. Well, this is ridiculous. He pretty much died before I even he pretty much died before I even put that on him. That's kind of sad. Ooh. Oh boy. Oh boy. If I was a heavy armor wearer right now, I'd be very happy, but I'm definitely gonna stick with my magicka. That is very nice though. Pretty positive that that's what just dropped off the boss. Those elite guys tend to have nice loot on them. Okay, so I don't want to spoil anything for you guys, so I am actually not going to do this quest right now. But what I will do is I want to show you a boss fight, a world boss fight. And these things do tend to be difficult, so I'm not sure how it's going to go, but I'd like to give it a shot nonetheless. So I'm going to run right out because there is a boss fight just outside of this cave here. I'm going to run out and show that to you. All right, so here we are just outside of the cave. We have a world boss fight. It is the Golden Saint. This should be much more difficult than the boss that we had fought inside right at the end of that dungeon there. And yeah, let's just see how this goes. So I'm gonna open up with an attack, and then we're gonna drop our weakness. And then the next thing I wanna do is root him in place because I wanna try to ideally not get hit. So you'll notice, look at how much more damage this thing takes. So I am pretty sure that I will not be able to kill her. I don't see this as being possible. I don't know that I have enough magicka regeneration to keep this root up, and I don't have any like basic snares. Although it's possible because I guess it is like I'm picking her off here. I'm doing quite a bit of damage and staying away, and this is really how this is pretty much the only way you can sort of do this sort of stuff is if you can kite. But yeah, so then this happens, and you're able to roll out of stuff like that, but it's not looking very good. Now I'm not gonna, this is definitely not impossible because I'm doing a fairly decent job, and I think if I was like 100% focused instead of talking, and that thing missed, that makes me really sad. I think if I was 100% focused on this fight instead of chatting with you guys, I could probably pull this off, but God, I'm just so vulnerable when she gets close. I mean, it's pretty much just me poking at her, hoping for my magicka to regen enough so that I can drop the talons again, and then also hoping I'm still trying to constantly engage with her in hopes that she doesn't despawn, basically. And oh my gosh, am I actually gonna get this? Oh, oh man. Well, that makes me sad because actually we were pretty close, but yeah, that's really funny. Well, we're gonna wrap up this video. I'm gonna give her a shot once I'm done recording. I think I could probably do it actually based on that trial run. But there we go, guys. Taking a look at a Dragonite once more. I wanted to show you something a little bit different. This is a build that people are definitely using, no question about that, but different in the sense that it's not what you expect when you hear Dragonite, but you can still do it. You can wear light armor, and you can basically be a Fire Mage. You don't have to be a tank, although Dragonites are really good at being tanks. They've got an entire skill line dedicated to being tanky. You can be a very, very effective Fire Mage if it's how you build your character. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of great ESO coverage coming up as we're getting a full NDA lift in the very near future. Basically, what that means to you is that I'm going to be able to start showing you some of the mid and high level content. So stay tuned for that. I'm really excited. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you like the content, please subscribe. And as always, keep watching and keep owning. Do I have my regeneration? No, I don't. Okay, I'm going to go do this. It's going to bump up our magicka recovery rate. Okay, and then just engage. Yeah, let's just engage. I'm going to try that. Gosh, I don't know. I'm going to save all my magicka. What the heck? It's just... the heck was that? Oh, no. Okay, it's not applying, thank you. Jeez. I'm like, why is this root not applying? Why is it not applying? Gosh, it's so bugged out. It needs to apply 100% of the time, not 50% of the time. ZeniMax, get on that. Like the first few attempts at dropping that ability, it just didn't go. Maybe she's just too far to the range when I cast it. I don't know. I don't know what the problem is. I need to make sure I don't grab that niche. Okay, yeah, maybe she was just too far out of the range. I don't know. I'm gonna dance her around a little bit here, though. Okay, there we go. That was sort of an unnecessary one, but... Oh. Okay, we're good. Oh, what the heck was that? How did it hit me? I didn't think I was close to that at all. Am I lagging? I must be lagging. Okay. Oh my gosh, are we gonna get it? Are we gonna get it? Come on, please. Okay, come on, we're so close. What are you doing? Why didn't you apply it? Oh my gosh. Come on, die. Please die. Ho, 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 ho. I'm the man. What did I get? What did I get? What did you drop for me? The hell did you drop? You dropped a maple lightning staff? And a serum of health? I hate you so much.